if you're anybody who has experienced the chaos of holiday season or maybe even like an extended summer vacation where there's just tons of food around, a lot of it's unstructured, lots of leftovers, perhaps lots of just endless eating, and somehow your holiday season stretches into February or your summer vacation stretches into September. And then you wake up one day and you're just like, all right, that's it. I've had enough. I am going to get serious. And so you go online, you order the new diet book, or like, you sign up for the new diet program that everyone's talking about. You stock your fridge with all the approved foods, right? Maybe even buy a new set of containers because you're convinced that this time you're going to nail the meal prep. And if you've experienced this before, which I know I have 100%, for the first couple of days, you feel unstoppable, right? I remember for myself, I loved the ritual of writing out my plan, the little dopamine rush of crossing off every perfect day on the calendar. It felt like possibility, right? It felt like the answer. It felt like my prayers had been answered and like I was finally in control. But two to 4 weeks later, I found myself exhausted, right? It almost like it came out of nowhere. I was hungry in ways that I couldn't explain. I was thinking about food constantly, planning my next meal before I even finished the one in front of me. And when I finally did slip up, right? Like I slipped, I ate something that was off the plan, or I gave in to some desire around food, it felt like the bottom had completely dropped out, and all the hope that I had, all of the possibility that I felt turned into self-flagellation and guilt and negative self-talk overnight. And this is the cycle that we're talking about today, that post-diet hangover. And I want to unpack it today because if you've lived this, you absolutely know how familiar it feels. Because every shiny new program has a magnetic pull, whether it's keto, intermittent fasting, Whole30, or maybe even it's like the latest cleanse that blew up on TikTok. Regardless of what it is, right? Regardless of what it is, they all have in common this promise, which is a better, more disciplined, more worthy version of you. And when we're feeling stuck in our bodies, in our habits, even in how we see ourselves, of course, we're going to crave that. And the idea of rules, it feels comforting. It gives you a sense of certainty in a world that feels overwhelming, right? Like, let's call a spade in a world that feels overwhelming. And it's not just about food, right? It's about identity. When you say, I'm doing Whole30 or I'm intermittent fasting, there's this rush of pride that comes up. Like, see, I'm disciplined. I'm someone who is like having it together. I'm someone who's doing something and who's like taking action in my life in a positive way. And that anticipation, like, right, like the shopping lists, everything you have to get together before it starts, the color-coded schedules, the sense of starting fresh, it mirrors every new beginning that we've ever had. And that's why it feels so seductive, because it's not just about the food. It's the fantasy of finally becoming the person that you think you're supposed to be. But then comes the hangover. Then comes the hangover. And at first it's super subtle, right? Like maybe you're dragging in the afternoons. Maybe you're staring at your computer screen and not able to focus. Maybe you notice the food noise and the cravings are louder than they were before. Maybe you find yourself dreaming of bread in a way that feels like almost primal. And then it starts to hit harder, right? You start quote unquote slipping, right? Maybe it's like a late night pantry raid or refrigerator raid, right? Maybe it's just saying yes to pizza or ice cream with friends because you're tired of being the one that says no, right? Like you're just over it. And instead of interpreting those slips as a normal human response, the voice of perfectionism kicks in because that never really went away. So that voice kicks in. You're failing again. You're never going to get this right. But here's a real truth of this whole thing is that the crash that you're feeling and that's happening slowly and then more quickly, it isn't a sign that you're weak. It isn't even about you and your willpower and your ability to have control. It's about biology and psychology working together. Because when you restrict food, your nervous system interprets it as scarcity. And your body actually believes that it's under threat. And your brain, which is wired for survival, it's going to push back and it's going to push you back toward food in ways that feel overpowering, right? It's going to feel like it's overwhelming to you. And so emotional eating, binging, quote unquote, losing control, these aren't failures. They're actually your body's safety mechanisms. But because no one explains it this way, no one tells us this, right? No one really says this in any of the, shiny new diets that we start. We internalize this as shame.